Tell me a little bit about the history of Canyon County Pride and what it's been to put an event like that on in our community.
Yeah, first and foremost, gathering in community is the First Amendment right that we, just like all Americans, take very seriously. And last year, Canyon County Pride was this idea that we would bring together folks with some picnic tables and celebrate the rich diversity of the folks of Canyon County. And that was really what was born out of Canyon County Pride. Obviously, given the climate for which we did this in, we spent a significant amount of money on security, and that's something that we're going to continue to do to ensure that the event is safe and welcoming to everyone.
Walk me through what your event looks like. Are you in parks? Are you on public roads? What does it look like to be at one of your events?
Yeah, so imagine any festival that you've attended in any city. So we follow all the proper channels with Nampa Parks and Rec, who become great partners to us, as well as Nampa PD and Nampa Fire. And we put together some programming that includes some music, different choruses, and then we also have drag performances as well that are all family friendly.
And when it comes to festivals in our area, do you feel like this one specifically, although you might be operating like other festivals, you guys specifically are being targeted?
Yeah, we knew that when we did Canyon County Pride last year that, first of all, nothing like this has happened in the past. This last year was the largest gathering of LGBTQ folks in the second largest jurisdiction in the state. And we're aware that the climate in that city was not one that was necessarily welcome to a festival like this and to people like that in this community. And so that's why it was so important, because there are queer folks in every neighborhood across the state and across the country, across the world. And then to celebrate LGBTQ folks in the second largest jurisdiction by gathering like our First Amendment right allows us to, and celebrate the rich diversity of Canyon County.
What are your issues with this bill?
Again, I don't necessarily have issues because I feel like this bill is something that we've seen before. It's an intimidation effort, it's a targeting effort for LGBTQ folks, proposed by folks who have little understanding of the queer community. We are so much more alike than we are different. And personally, I feel like there are issues we could be addressing that would really have true benefits on the community. But again, this is just like everything else we see session after session. Throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Earlier today in our interview with one of the bill creators, he had mentioned Nampa and gave a few examples of people walking around in pasties or drag shows or strip teases, and he's trying to eliminate that access to minors. One, is that happening at your events? And two, will you have to change the way your event goes on if this bill passes?
Yeah, so much of the information that folks are hearing on what happens at a Pride Festival is by folks who've never been at a Pride Festival. I will be straightforward. We did have an incident of an individual who attended last year who was following Nampa City Code and did have nipple pasties. We kindly and respectfully asked that this individual throw a t-shirt on. At that point, they weren't willing to do that. And so that's something we really learned from. And going forward, we're going to enforce everyone wear a t-shirt. But again, I'll reiterate that was within Nampa City Code at that time. We have great partnerships with Nampa Police Department, great partnerships with Nampa Fire, Nampa Parks and Rec. We follow all of the procedures. Are we doing strip teases at this event? We are not. Again, I think there's such a misconception by folks who've never attended such a joyful family event called Pride that think we're doing all of these inherently sexual things that we're not. If you've ever taken your family to Disneyland and seen various characters running around Disneyland, you've seen drag. And last year, for example, we had Dora and SpongeBob perform a very family-friendly performance. So our event is not sexual in nature. That's an age-old tale that has othered LGBTQ people for time, a century, that we are inherently sexual, that it's a lifestyle choice, and it's simply not. We are more alike than we are different.
And will you have to change the way you operate? Are you going to have to start enforcing checking IDs or 18 and up or closing off some sections of your event?
The only change will be that we'll enforce folks to wear a t-shirt in order to avoid a circumstance that was out of our control last year. Other than that, plan goes on. We will have no real change other than a significant increase in security and safety measures, which we've taken very seriously from the beginning. And that's not because we are afraid of the folks who are going to come and enjoy the festival. It's for the folks who really just don't understand us and come from a place of fear and hate. So the only adjustment that we will have is that we'll enforce folks to wear a t-shirt, and that would be anyone, just like any festival you go to. And then we're also going to significantly increase our security budget. So for those out there that are looking for a way to assist us in that effort, we're fundraising for that goal, because if we can create a space that's safe, then we've achieved our mission of celebrating our diversity in Canyon County.
How does it feel to have a senator in Canyon County, specifically Nampa, who's supporting this initiative?
I sat here in a similar interview last year with Canyon County Pride. Unfortunately, it's not a surprise that we're seeing such backlash for simply having our First Amendment rights administered in a public park, following all the procedures. So, I don't take it personally. I've always taken the position that, hey, we're really hoping to bring together the entire community. You can come get a turkey leg and listen to country music, and there might be a drag performance, but it's likely going to be SpongeBob or Dora. So, it's really something that until you've attended and left with a pride sticker and a smile, it's hard to understand why there's such a level of hate and disagreement around a right that we all have for gathering in a public space.
Lawmakers are arguing it is sexual. You're saying it's not, and because it's not, we're going to keep on operating like we do. There's not going to be too much of an effect when it comes to changing the way you guys operate.
Yeah, I want people to hear me when I say that no bill or no intimidation is going to prevent the LGBTQ community from gathering peacefully to celebrate Pride. I mean, that's going to continue to happen. And so we follow all the rules. We welcome everyone. We ask that you respect our rules and play safe. But yeah, I mean, we're going to continue to have Canyon County Pride now and years to come.
Specifically, let's go back to the thing that you could clarify that there was a change in code, and necessarily at that time you said it was allowed in code or something.
Well, so the only thing I can speak to is that at that point, and for context, Canyon County Pride last year was planned in 21 days. It was featured in the Washington Post. One of the images was featured as one of the most enduring images of 2024. So it's clear that we need Pride. And so at that time, everything happened very fast. And when we arrived that day, there are certain precautions really that we just weren't able to address that we now have the opportunity to do so. And so in that particular instance, we asked that individual, please, hey, would you please put a shirt on? And they said that this was within their rights and was within Nampa code. And at that point, we just chose to pick our battles because there was a line of protesters at the front of the festival who were priority for our focus. And so again, we can really only focus on what we intend to do going forward. And what our intention was from the beginning, and always has been, to create a free, family-friendly event to celebrate the rich diversity of Canyon County.
Opponents of this bill argue it infringes on First Amendment rights. Where do you feel on that?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a trend of folks being intimidated and targeted for those who don't share the same views as the extreme majority in the state. I mean, we're seeing instances where the First Amendment right is really being infringed on. And so now it's more important now than ever to speak up and make sure that folks are aware that we're here, we exist, being part of the LGBTQ community does not discriminate. And I think for the folks who are proposing these bills and have such a strong feeling of hate for us and people like myself, they might be surprised to learn that there's probably someone in their family who's a part of the LGBTQ community. And again, we're really only asking to exist peacefully in community.
Another comment we heard in an interview today was, we don't let kids around adult movie stores or strip clubs. We shouldn't allow sexual exhibitions to take place in public parks. What would your response to that be?
Nothing that occurred at Canyon County Pride last year and that will occur this year and years to come is anything that you wouldn't see on primetime TV or at the Morrison Center. So, again, I had a performer in drag perform SpongeBob. It is nothing that you wouldn't see on primetime TV or at, again, the Morrison Center.
Another argument is we want public parks to be safe. You are arguing everything you're doing is safe.
I mean, Canyon County Pride was meant to be an opportunity for us to bring together some picnic benches and celebrate Pride. I'm choosing, out of a response by the community, to spend tens of thousands of dollars on private security measures because the folks who are coming to the event that aren't intending to enjoy the programming are outside our festival grounds, intimidating folks using hateful slurs. So unfortunately, those who speak to our event being unsafe, we're spending a significant amount of our fundraising effort on safety measures for those who are proposing this bill and creating this false narrative that we're doing something unsafe. We're just out in the festival. If you've been to Nampa for any of the festivals that they host throughout the year, this is no different.
Have you tried to reiterate that to lawmakers? Have you kind of approached that conversation or given public testimony when bills like this come up?
Yeah, I own Idaho's #1 LGBTQ real estate team, and I help clients from across the country move here. Most recently, a couple from Brooklyn, New York, a pastor, Josh Lee, who took over a UCC congregation in Boise, and he testified against House Joint Memorial 1. And so seeing that work realized is always super fulfilling. So for me, I stay really focused on rallying the community, and I've spent a lot of time planning this large event. And so I'm so proud of the folks in my community who are at the State House advocating and making an intention to have these conversations. If there was an opportunity to sit down and have that conversation, I'd be more than happy to.
Anything else I didn't ask you that you want to add?
I just really want to make it clear that Canyon County Pride and the events that took place last year and years to come, the programming is nothing that you wouldn't see on Prime TV or at the Morrison Center, that these are very family-friendly, clean events. Performers know better than anybody that there is a difference between an event you put on for all ages and an event you put on for adults. It just is hard to understand why folks think that a performer would intentionally do something that would go against their ability to do that. There's so many bills being presented to take away the rights of LGBTQ folks. So the queer folks who are doing drag and performers in general, they know the difference between an event that's for all ages and for adults only. Drag is not inherently sexual, and the performers know that.
And I think that's a great comment to give to this because, on one side we're hearing it's all sexual, and you're saying, well, the performers at Canyon County Proud know the difference, and we're not intentionally trying to be sexual. That just might be what someone's interpreting what you guys are doing as.
Yeah, for the folks who've never attended a Pride Festival, this is a great opportunity. It's welcome to everyone, and they will be able to come and see that the drag performances, the programming that we have is not sexual. As I mentioned, we had Dora as one of our drag performers, and if you've been to Disneyland or you've been to a theme park and seen someone dressed up as a character, that is drag. So drag is not inherently sexual, and the performers know the difference between the two things. We take our programming very seriously. We take the safety of the community very seriously, and we take this representation of the queer community very seriously. And so we're excited to continue to bring Canyon County Pride to the second largest jurisdiction in the state this year and years to come. And we'd love any help with our fundraising effort. That's all going to go essentially towards our safety measures.
How long have you guys been operating?
So last year was our first event. It happened in 21 days and was just a major success. We crowdfunded nearly $18,000, most of which went to security measures. We were featured in the Washington Post. And that was such an affirmation that this is needed. Again, if it didn't have to be that big of an event, really it was going to be, let's pull together some park benches and just celebrate Pride. At that time was federally recognized. And so that's the intention remains the same. There are queer folks that have families that are of all walks of life all across the state, and it's important that they feel like they can come out to a park and celebrate in their community, because unless you know what it's like to have your rights continuously infringed upon, which is what we see in every session, it's hard to really know what that's like. And Pride is that one day in the park where we come together and enjoy our community.